Students, welcome to the 270th session of Legal Empowerment through Interaction lecture series. It is in fact a momentous occasion for us, and befitting the occasion, we have a distinguished personality to render the introductory remarks. And today's topic is being dealt with by our own family member, Anil Malhotra, sir. The topic very interesting: human smuggling or human trafficking, which has to agitate all intelligent brains, I would say. And we are privileged with the presence of Justice V. Ramkumar sir, Justice Ramakrishnan sir, and all of you wonderful participants on this occasion. And without wasting any time, may I request the speaker of the day, Anil Malhotra sir, to introduce the chief guest, I would say. Please, Anil Malhotra.
Yes. Thank you, Shyam. Honorable judges, sirs, participants, and my very, very dear senior associate and friend, Mr. Ramesh Singh. For all those who do not know him, his majestic personality, his good looks, which still remain, are an equal match to his academic training, to his professionalism, and to a very distinguished services career as a civil servant and thereafter as Chief Information Commissioner. My association with him began when he was the Chief Secretary of Punjab, and the Advocate General had sought my assistance because the government was very keen on promoting reform in NRI laws. So the initiative, the enterprise, and the keen interest which Mr. R.I. Singh devoted as Chief Secretary despite his preoccupations was something of an example for me. I distinctly remember there was an Italian delegation who was very keen on doing business with Punjab, and they wanted to appoint an Honorary Consul General also. So the Chief Minister was to be requested for a date for a venue for a conference and the meeting. The Italians had to leave. I requested Sir, and Sir was holding a meeting with the entire cabinet in the residence of the Chief Minister. But Sir was so kind that he broke the meeting, invited the Italians in, got the date, and then let us go. That be it so. The keenness with which he showed the path of developing the law led to Punjab being the first state in the country to enacting the Punjab Prevention of Human Smuggling Act 2012, now known as the Punjab Travel Professions Regulation Act 2012. We also made the Punjab Compulsory Registration of Marriages Act. We took out booklets. Now, what was remarkable was that Sir, with his multiple administrative responsibilities, showed such a keen interest in such an important issue, which is very, very deeply connected both with Kerala and Punjab, that is migration. Sir is a wonderful human being, a warm personality, a bureaucrat with no airs, and his simplicity today was so graceful that when I called him up yesterday, he said, I'm not net savvy. So I said, Sir, I will arrange for everything. He says, no, I will come to your chambers. When I offered to have him picked up, he said, no, I will come myself. You don't have to pick me up. So with this few words of an introduction, I will now request Sir to introduce the topic and how he sailed it through. And it is now to sail in Kerala. Sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Malhotra, for very kind words. I don't know whether I deserve all that you said, but kind of you. Thank you very much. And also, thanks for giving me this opportunity to interact on this important subject, dynamics and dimensions of human smuggling, dark side of the moon. I didn't know about the present organization which is hosting this, but it's a pleasure to know that they are addressing the issues of legal empowerment of the people through interaction lecture series. The legal dimensions of migration are very, very crucial and important to the entire gamut of issue of migration. I'm told that there is something like 32 million or 3.2 crore NRIs and overseas citizens of India abroad, and almost nearly 25 lakh people from India migrate every year to countries abroad. Now, given this large number, most of them, of course, are legal and go by the established procedures and routes, but a small trickle attempts to go illegally, and that is what creates the problem. To understand the legal dimension, it is important to know, why do people go abroad? See, Kerala and Punjab, or Kerala, of course, is very lucky to be on the seas. Punjab is a landlocked country, but it's amazing the urge to move out.
Some connectivity problem. Sir, we had some connectivity problem. Excuse me, sir. We had a connectivity problem, I think, from your end. Could you please unmute? Sir, we lost you for around 2 minutes. We are sorry.
So I'll repeat it. I said that in the modern times, the first organized immigration or migration took place as early as 1890, when policemen were recruited from Punjab to man Hong Kong city, which was then ruled by British. And from there, they moved on to Beijing, also to man the city. And if you go to these towns and visit a museum, you will find Punjab policemen on the horses, the photographs and the statues still as a part of the memory. And this led to a spurt in migration to the Southeast Asia from India, which was further kind of strengthened by the World War I prisoners, which were taken prisoners by the Japanese in Malaysia, in present-day Singapore, in Thailand, and so on and so forth. But what is amazing is that Punjab regiment, which was raised in 1761, you'll be surprised to know that its insignia, which they tie on top of the cap or turban, is a ship. It is a galley with a bank of oars and sails, which shows that a kind of suppressed feeling to move out. And this is despite the mythological teachings of ancient times, that going abroad, crossing seas, kind of takes you out of the social moves. This was the urge. And let me also tell you a very interesting fact which I came across, that a lot of Indians were taken to Africa by the British again, mostly from Bihar and UP, as indentured labor for sugarcane fields, for other mines and so forth. From Punjab, semi-skilled workers went first to Uganda in 1890 to lay the railway line. We have a community in Punjab called Ramgadiyas. They are very skilled people. And soon enough, they settled there, and the first African organized army battalion, East African Rifles, which was raised in 1895, had a large number of Punjabis as a part of the regiment, which opened up Africa to Punjabis, because they came back, brought stories, and people went. Then the Punjab battalion visited England in 1887 to participate in Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. And on their way back home, they came via British Columbia. And that opened up Canada for them. So they started. The story of Kamagata Maru ship, which they engaged all the way from Hong Kong. First they went to Hong Kong, because in those days, the British in Canada did not allow immigration or migration from India. So they went to Hong Kong, hired a ship and went all the way to Canada, and that's how they spread. Then they went on to America, so on and so forth. I remember, it's anecdotal, in 1993, I was visiting Switzerland by the side of a Zurich lake. Suddenly somebody shouted with his hands raised, look out. I mean, it was in Punjabi, but it works out something like, look out, be cautious, you may not fall into the lake. And suddenly these three Sikh gentlemen with bearded, flowing beards and turban came and said, so I asked them, why, how are you here? They said, we are on political. Now, what they meant was they're asylum seekers, you see. So the disturbed period of Punjab gave an opportunity to youngsters to seek asylum abroad on built-up grounds of persecution, religious discrimination, and Geneva Convention and its protocol 1967 helped them. The diaspora abroad helped them, the legal. Fortunately now, as Mr. Malhotra has very rightly said, Punjab government took number of steps, seeing the urge of Punjabis to go abroad, so that it is a legal process and people do not suffer, because it is not just loss of money through illegal immigration. It leads to tragedies. We have lost lives on the high seas. We have lost lives on the high mountains due to hunger, people being locked up in trucks and trolleys and carted like cargo all over. So because of these problems, we in Punjab thought of regulating the travel agents who are the major reason to exploit the urge of Punjabis like Keralites to move abroad. So this law was enacted, which I'm sure the legal luminaries, the honorable judges and Mr. Malhotra will dwell on and tell you. The second step we took was constituting a statutory NRI Commission, which addresses the issues and problems of Punjabis based abroad, whether they are illegal or illegal both. We also designated certain courts in Punjab to speed up the cases of the Indians abroad, because when they go abroad, a lot of property issues come up, marriage issues come up, compulsory registration of marriage was brought about, because people will marry, leave their spouse, and then never call the wife back. Now this has reversed, of course, because girls are brighter, so they score very high in academics. So what the enterprising boys are doing is they find these, bright girls. They offer them that we will give you all the expenses for education, clear your all tests for admissions abroad. Once you are there, you call us. So what is happening now is that the girls go, and many a times they don't call the husband back to Canada or anywhere else. You see, which is again creating social tensions. Basically, the problem of moving abroad is due to lack of employment opportunities here, due to our currency's poor standing in international market, the basic urge, of course, to be abroad, and this can be addressed. Of course, the illegal migration by legally educating the people, making them conscious that there are better ways, there are good procedures which are available. Canada, for example, in the next 4 years is going to allow more than 4 lakh people to move, because there is a crisis of population. In whole of Europe, the population is aging, and they do not have the young people, educated, skilled, to keep their economy moving. So this is also, I know, for example, in recent times, countries like Italy, Spain, they have become large takers of people from Punjab who work there in farms, in their dairies, and so on and so forth. So educating youngsters about their legal rights, regulating the travel agents, people who exploit these youngsters. This is a very important and crucial aspect of illegal immigration. I'm sure that today's this seminar will help in making people more aware and conscious of these issues. I'll not take your more time and leave it to the legal luminaries to address the issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed a privilege hearing you, and it being our 270th session, it was a blessing also to us that you are present today with us. So I may request Anil Malhotra sir to take on with the subject. So you'll have to unmute.
Yes.
Anil sir, you'll have to unmute. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for the very warm and very much required introduction. Your words spelled the history of illegal and legal migration and took us to the roots of the diaspora emerging in Punjab and how they went on and how this entire process started. Now, coming on to current times. Now, let me explain to you, as Mr. Singh explained to you, the diaspora from Punjab is so potent, so powerful, that when you visit the villages in Punjab, you will often find a water tank on top of the house in the shape of an aircraft. There are gurdwaras, that is the place of worship of the Sikh religion. There are particular temples where people go and donate the model of an aircraft, because it is believed that if you donate an aircraft, you are lucky to, you are sure to go abroad if you are given the blessings of the religious leaders. Now, in this backdrop, the process of migration became so rampant that it grew with the passage of time. The thinking in the rural mindset was that the only way to go abroad is the illegal way. And everybody thought getting a visa was impossible through the legal channels. So with this thinking, the mushrooming of agents or unauthorized persons dealing with trafficking of people or smuggling of people grew. Now, I first want to bring in the basic difference between trafficking and smuggling. Now, whenever there is movement by consent, you agree to a process of illegal movement, it is called human smuggling. However, when you are forced, when you are coerced, when you are when force is applied or you are made to be taken as bonded labor, it is trafficking. Now, the problem in this part of the country and all over India is human smuggling. We recently saw 4 very tragic deaths of a family from Gujarat who froze on the borders of Canada in sub-zero temperatures. Now, this is not human trafficking, this is human smuggling, because they had consented to go, they had paid a huge sum of money to go, and they were voluntarily going abroad for a purpose or for a mission or for a motive, whatever it was. So the problem which India has to address is human smuggling. Now, where is the law on this? Now, unfortunately, Parliament has not looked at any law So the Indian Immigration Act of 1983, which was principally sought to address the issue, came into existence in 1983 and still remains as it was, as it is now. So the Indian Immigration Act of 1983 addresses what is called recruitment. So the Immigration Act of 1983 provides for checks, controls, balances by enacting a licensing regime of recruiting agents, immigration, and movement abroad. So a recruiting agent means a person who is engaged in India for the purposes of recruitment with an employer, and emigrate and immigration means departure out of India of any person with a view of taking up employment through a recruiting agent or without a recruiting agent. So the Immigration Act only looked at recruitment, and the Immigration Act creates in every state an office of the protector of immigrants, and you have a chief protector of immigrants at the central level. So basically speaking, people mostly in the working class, labor class, who have to go abroad have to get a stamp from the protector of immigrants that they are leaving for a particular country with the purposes of employment, and they will be protected by the employer as far as the terms of their contract is concerned. But we have traveled a lot, far lot from recruitment. Nowadays, the problem is educational avenues, courses like IELTS, then travel agents taking educational tours, music tours, recreational tours, sports tours, people providing consultancies for education, people providing training for branch troops, you name it, and it's going on. Now, all these so-called institutions, training centers, or avenues for going abroad have acquired the name or nomenclature of consultancies. So this new breed of people are called consultants, education consultants, recruitment consultants, employment consultants, or simple word, travel agents. Now, these people will walk up and say, we are not into recruitment, so the Immigration Act 1983 does not apply to us. Now, with this purpose in mind, in Punjab, when the problem was being addressed and I was involved in the making of the law, the Advocate General suggested that we have to look at a very large definition of a travel agent. So we defined a travel agent as a person in a profession that involves arranging work for managing or conducting affairs relating to sending people abroad. And it includes consultancy for permanent immigration, obtaining work, education, travel for tourism, cultural entertainment, musical shows, medical treatment, spreading or preaching religion, participating in sports tournaments, issuing advertisements for travel, including holding seminars and lectures to promote immigration, arranging matrimonial alliances, and arranging overseas travel for any purpose whatsoever except for business and recruitment governed by the registration under the provisions of the Immigration Act. So we took care that we did not encroach on the area covered in the Immigration Act. Now, dishonest misrepresentation with intention to have wrongful gain or inducing deception, cheating, or allurement for above activities, and cheating by way of impersonation was punishable as is under the Indian Penal Code. So if any travel agent wants to advertise or hold seminars, he will have to notify the competent authority about details of advertisements. and the license number of the agent will have to be printed. So basically what we did, we identified the definition of an agent, and we, sir, I'm in a webinar, I'll call you in a little while, sir. So we said that anybody who does not operate without a license will be banned or stopped from doing so. So any person indulging in any such activity will have to take a license from the district magistrate concerned in the jurisdiction in which he operates. Any complaint which is made against an agent shall be inquired by a deputy commissioner. It will be marked to investigation by a DSP, that is a deputy superintendent of police, who will be empowered to impose penalties, provide compensation, and punishment will be prescribed, which may extend up to 7 years depending upon the gravity of the offence. And it authorized judicial courts to take cognizance of offences, and any property which was illegally acquired will be liable to be confiscated. Then it provided for liability of the director, manager, secretary of the company is responsible for holding all these events. Cheating was as defined in the Indian Penal Code. And in this process, travel agent and human smuggling came to be defined. Now, once again, human smuggling was defined as an activity including illegally exporting, sending or transporting persons out of India by receiving money from them or their parents, relatives, or any other persons interested in their welfare by inducing, alluring, or deceiving or cheating. Now, a competent authority was designated as a person authorized to issue a license. Any application for a license is to be accompanied by a fee, and all details to be furnished, whether it is a coaching institution, whether it is a travel agent, whether it is a ticketing agent, or etc. Residence certificate, proof of age, identity, passport, PAN card, income tax returns, bank statements, credibility, etc. will all have to be provided. Applicant should not be declared bankrupt. Licenses should be issued for 5 years, renewable with ITRs and all relevant documents, and all accounts to be written down and furnished to the government for a regular period. Now, when this law was made, there was turmoil in the state of Punjab among these agents, because nobody wanted to register, and all the agents were transacting business in cash. So basically what happened, they collected money, took the money, sent people through illegal routes by sea, by air, or by land. If they were caught or apprehended, they were locked up in prisons. If they managed to return and something happened, there was no evidence, nobody wanted to complain, because it was all an illegal trade. If the person vanished or disappeared, the harassed family members or relatives would approach the police, but there would be no evidence, because nothing was transacted in cash, nothing was transacted in documents, transactions were all in cash, and resultantly, no offense was made out, and this entire business was thriving. It became a booming industry. Every small vendor, low-level policeman was a sub-agent, and it grew into a bigger agent. The result was that this business became so illegal that 2 tragedies occurred. One in the Ionian Sea, where 289 North Indians drowned on the coast of Italy. when the boat was abandoned by the human smugglers. There were other incidents when people were found dead in lorries trying to enter through France, or people were found dead in forests trying to get in through the Africa area. Now, there were also incidents when public interest litigation was started to search for Indians who had vanished years ago. I remember during the course of one such matter, where I was assisting the court as an amicus, it was reported that about 200 North Indian boys were locked up by agents in Iraq. Now, all these boys had gone illegally and were employed by American agents to clear the fields of ammunition, weaponry, and all discarded ammunition, which was the result of the Iraq war. So basically, these boys were being used. They were cramped up in small rooms. Few of them managed to escape. They landed in the Indian embassy. The agent got very panicky. He released all of them. So about 200 odd number were found outside the embassy. The High Court seized of a matter of an earlier case, sought assistance. So I requested the court that these boys are alive. Let us try to get them back. The ones who are not being traced, we can look at later. Now the issue was, how do we bring them back? Because their passports had all been taken away by the agents. So the Ministry of External Affairs was impleaded as a party. They were told to give one-time emergency travel documents as Indian passports, but their antecedents had to be verified first. A fund was created. They were all identified. They were housed in the embassy, and all of them were ultimately brought back. Then the bench hearing the matter decided that these boys who had been brought back should be used as an example to motivate others not to go the wrong way. So in the Chandigarh Judicial Academy, we held a 1-week program of educating them and training them as brand ambassadors to spread the message. So they ultimately, when they went back to their villages, they sought to spread the message of not going the wrong way. But sadly, irrespective of whatever you may do, those who are able to come back will still collect money and go back to that same agent and try to go again. This is the lure, this is the attraction, this is the fascination that you want to go. Where you want to go, you don't know. What you want to do, you don't know. What will you do, you don't know. I just want to go to Canada. I just want to go to America. England is no more a destination sought after because employment opportunities are not as plenty. But wherever you go, you will find a North Indian. You go to Iceland, you go to Greece, you go to Switzerland, whatever. Now, the problem is also permeating to Himachal Pradesh, adjoining India, adjoining Punjab, Delhi, Gujarat, Kerala, Andhra. It's spreading all over. In my opinion, what we really need is, we need an enactment by Parliament at the central level. The Indian Immigration Act of 1983 has outlived its utility and has outlived its purpose and does not serve the end. Now, these consultants, so-called travel agents, or people involved in this business of human smuggling say Immigration Act does not cover us. We are not into recruitment. Now, I would also like to share with you that when we enacted this Punjab Human Smuggling Act of 2012, it was challenged in the Punjab and Haryana High Court as being unconstitutional, as being ultra vires the power of the state government to enact this law. The argument raised was that recruitment, immigration was a subject in the union list, and therefore the state is not competent to enact a law on the subject. Now, I was asked by the Advocate General to assist in the matter, though I was not a law officer of the Advocate General's office. So I took up this matter pro bono to appear for the government. Unfortunately, the knowledge and the inputs were so scarce that a specialist knowledge was required. So I drafted the written statement and I filed it before the court. And our argument was, we are not enacting a law on immigration. It is a subject we have not touched. We are only taking in the rest of the subjects. And whatever is being done is in the concurrent list, and we are competent to enact the law. And as far as the central union list is concerned, we are not touching it. So the court almost agreed with us, but then the agents had grievances like the name of the act is not correct. Everybody is, if they say that if we go to an embassy and say we are registered under the Human Smuggling Act, so everybody said, oh, we would not like to be called human smugglers. So the Chief Justice, Justice Sanjay Kishan Kaul was the Chief Justice. He suggested that we form a committee and you look into their grievances. So I and the Home Secretary heard the agents at length for almost a week, and we were able to look at their grievances, and we took the act back to the State Assembly and we made those amendments. We changed the name of the act to start with to Punjab Travel Professional Regulations Act, and whatever procedural aspects they wanted us to incorporate, we were able to change those things which caused hardship, and we brought in an amended act. But such was the, I would say, belligerence, resistance, or opposition that the agents again challenged the Punjab Travel Professions Regulations Act, taking the same ground that only the center can enact this law. State government is nobody to enact this law because it is ultra vires powers in the constitution, and therefore this act should be struck down. Fortunately, the court refused to stay the act, so it is still under challenge. They are interested that the matter should linger on. Meanwhile, now there is whenever there is an incident of people being smuggled illegally and caught, there is the force of the police to say, you are not a registered agent, so we will take action against you under the Punjab Prevention of Human Smuggling Act also, or the Punjab Travel Professions Regulation Act, besides provision of the IPC. So slowly the enforcement of this act is catching on. And I was discussing this proposed seminar yesterday with the Honorable Judge in charge of the Academy. And he said, while hearing bail matters, we now find regularly this act being applied against agents. So we need to educate our magistrates also about this law in the Judicial Academy, which is a very good step. So in this process now, the law on the subject is catching on. But there is also a flip side to it. All agents have shifted their operations to the state of Haryana, which is adjoining Punjab, to Delhi, to Himachal Pradesh, and this illegal trade is now functioning through different states. Now, a Punjab Act will not apply in the adjoining states. So this malice is spreading. Every day in some newspaper or the other, you will find that immigration detected so-and-so persons with illegal fake visas. So-and-so persons were trying to go through documents which were not complete, or there were people who had been found trapped in some country illegally. So this is becoming a national problem. But the urge to go is so strong. I was surprised to read that in Ukraine, the maximum number of students are from North India. There are not hundreds, there are thousands of students still stuck in Ukraine. They're trying to come back. But what is the urge for them to go? The urge is very simple. I was reading a newspaper report today. You need 50% marks in 10+2. You need 2 to 3 lakhs rupees a year. And you get admission in a college in Ukraine. There are colleges which are 200 years old. The country is very friendly. Food is very good. The livable conditions are excellent. So there is a migration to Ukraine. I thought that Ukraine was a very underdeveloped place, but the students say no, the transportation system is very good. It is very cheap. The living places are very good. Food is very good. Climate is very good. People are very hospitable. And facilities are very cheap. So it is only when a tragedy occurs, it is only when a mishap occurs that you realize the flip side of immigration. But till everything is fine and hunky-dory, all is good. So this is the story of the state of Punjab and its roots as Komagat. Mr. R.I. Singh always narrates the story of Komagata Maru, where these North Indians tried to go to Europe by ship a few hundred years ago. So the urge to travel has always been very strong. Now, I also happen to sometimes go to villages. Our law firm is involved in investigation, are still involved in investigations of people who want to go legally. We process their documents. So when in 20 years ago, when I used to go sometimes, you would find that in villages, there were no people. Every 5 or 10 houses, there was a watchman who was looking after everybody. So I used to ask, where are they? He says, they've all gone to Canada. They've all gone to England. They've all gone to America. So this was the urge to travel. And as I told you, whenever the NRI came, he hired a taxi. He would be drinking Black Label. He would be wearing gold chains. He would be very smartly attired. He would throw a party. So everybody would think, oh, it's a wonderful place. But nobody realized that he was cleaning toilets there, or he was breaking earth on the roads, or he was just employed as a laborer. Now, in England, I go to England quite often. In England, when you go now, sometimes you see in pockets where there are large Asians, you will find a large number of people gathering at one particular place early in the morning. So I used to ask the local people, local Indians, who are they? He says, these are all illegal immigrants. They are standing here because they will expect some factory worker, some farm owner, or some industry owner who will pick them up for labor. He will pay them in cash and they will thrive. So this is a practice which goes on. But then, are they apprehended? Yes, they are apprehended. But when they are taken in, they refuse to disclose their identity. So they are locked up in jails. Now, most European countries say that we don't know what to do with them. So some countries release them back because they can't keep them in. So they are back on the streets doing these same things. So if you visit the Eiffel Tower in France, you will find a lot of Indians selling small junkets or small gift items. They're all illegal immigrants. So this is the fate of most of the people. Now, those who go illegally cannot come back because they have no immigration status, they have no documentation, they have no passports. So it's a bad route. But then a lot of them who overstay declare themselves, take asylum, and they are accommodated. Most countries don't do that anymore. Now, there is another thing in Punjab, that a lot of Indians who are locked up in jails in England, the British government has a tie-up with the Punjab police. Punjab government is the only government which has a tie-up direct with the British government, whereby officers from the British High Commission or the Home Department in UK can get in touch with police headquarters in Punjab to verify antecedents of illegal immigrants locked up in jails in UK so that they can be returned. So once their antecedents are verified, they are deported back, and obviously they will never be able to go back again. Now, another initiative which we did over the years on this business was with Italy, with Germany, and with UK on managed migration. Now, there was a time when getting a visa to go to England, you had to line up at the embassy at 4 o'clock in the morning, because the gate would open at 8 o'clock and they would just let in 50 or 100 odd people who could be accommodated. So the British government realized that this was a very uncomfortable process, and so it led to the establishment or outsourcing to an agency called Visa Facilitation Services, VFS, which is a very popular agency now world over, whereby every embassy outsources its processing of documentation to a private agency called Visa Facilitation Services. What does VFS do? VFS works as a center in every city, practically everywhere in India, whereby you can go, submit your application, submit your documents, get your biometrics, and those documents are now it is all electronic, are transferred to the embassy, and the embassy processes your paperwork. Only if you are required to be called, you are called to Delhi for an interview. Otherwise, you are granted your visa or your visa is rejected. Now, initially, it started as an experiment by the British government in the year 2000. And Mr. Nri Singh was associated with this to start with. The Italians even got their office inaugurated from him when he was chief secretary. So now every embassy practically has the Visa Facilitation Services office, and it is spread all over the country now. So you don't have to go to Delhi or Bombay or Chennai to the consulate or the embassy. You can submit your application. Previously, they would take hard copies. Now everything is electronic. And practically every country is now using VFS. Even India is using VFS or alternative agencies abroad. Now, this initial exercise of getting VFS in had a dual purpose. One was to simplify the process of applications. The second was to educate immigrants or Indians. Don't go the wrong way, go the right way. They said, this is the paperwork, this is the way to do it, these are the documents required, you can get it legally. So the mindset was changed by this process of legal migration or migration the right way. We even did seminars in Chandigarh on managed migration, going the right way, to spread the word that you can actually walk up to a center, pay a nominal fee, they'll even fill up your form, they will even guide you. Now, this was all to start with. Now, of course, everything is electronic. You can fill up, it takes you 2 days. I do it myself. You fill up your form, you annex your documents, you take an appointment, everything is submitted electronically. You just have to go for biometrics. That is your thumb impressions, your fingerprints, your photograph to be taken, and everything goes electronically, and your visa can be obtained. So electronically, things are changing. Now the pattern of immigration is also changing. As Mr. Nri Singh was telling you, previously it was grooms bringing brides. Now it's going the other way. It's brides exporting grooms. You will find one woman trying to get multiple relationships with men, ditching all of them. You will find people going for IT, people going for medicine, people going for high-end. Most countries pick up high-end professionals, the ones they want, in a very, very fast and expeditious way. Some countries give you long-term visas, 10 years, 5 years. Dubai gives you a golden visa, but doesn't give you citizenship. So the offers and attractions in different ways come for different categories of people. It's changing. Everything is changing. And even going abroad is getting managed. But the lure of illegal immigration still remains. I have not been able to understand why a Gujarati family, well-to-do, apparently, not starving, young couple, 2 young children, tries to grow through the borders of Canada and walks 15-20 kilometers, realizing well that it's minus 25 and they freeze to death. Obviously, there must be a large number of people who must have managed to go or have been going or were going. It was a route. It was an illegal established route. This walking route is called the donkey route. It's very popular in the north. Donkey means you walk, but people do this. It's amazing in this age and this stage where you can the fallacies, the fallback. You still do this, and I can understand unemployed young man going, but a married man with 2 young children attempting this. What is the lure? I don't know. So with this totally diverse subject with which I have been associated, I have attended 2 Wilton Park conferences on behalf of the British High Commission in England, one in I.A.S in Spain, looking at this problem. It's a huge problem. The UNODC, United Nations Organization of Drugs and Crime, looks at this very seriously. So I have done a lot of study on this, and having been associated with the government, I have written furiously about it, that we need to do some law. But as usual, Parliament is in slumber. Only Justice Ramakrishnan will be able to help us to answer, or Sir will be able to answer, what is Parliament going to do about this? So with these words, I pass the baton on back for comments, discussion, and interactions.
Thank you. Thank you, Anil Malhotra, sir. It was indeed wonderful. So, like you said, we'll go straight to Ramkumar, sir, and then over to Ramakrishnan, sir.
Sorry, everybody. My wife suddenly took ill. So I was running after pillar to post. Anyway, some solution has been arrived at.
All well, sir?
Hopefully.
Okay.
One doctor said she has to be removed to the hospital. Another doctor said she can be managed with 3 pills. I opted for the second. Malhotra ji, you have a golden touch on whatever topic you lay your hands on. People migrating into other countries without knowing that greener pastures do not exist there. Ultimately, it becomes the parent country's headache to manage them. As in any other organized activity, here also the middlemen exploit the masses and thrive on their ignorance and illiteracy. Wonderful lecture. In fact, an offbeat lecture.
I know, sir. No, it's a topic close to my heart, and something which I did passionately as a lawyer also. I thought of bringing in Mr. Singh because 20 years ago, he put this into me, and I find that he's still as energetic.
Yes.
So, it is a problem. It's a human problem.
Correct. Thank you. Wonderful lecture. Excellent.
Thank you, Ramkumar, sir. Ramakrishnan, sir, your comments.
No, really, when a topic like this comes, even the people like us were shocked to hear that things are happening in a legal way for an illegal purpose sometimes. That is a word we can use, because they will be getting all permission, because if you want to go abroad, unless you get some visa for some purpose, you can't go out. Probably with that small visa or small period, they are overstays there with some benefit being given or not given. I will not know what is the status of those people in those areas. Because as you said, they are keeping it for some time in the prison, then again they are sending back to the streets only. So instead of that, if they can adopt the method of deportation of these people to India, probably at least they can come back to India. Suppose a person going, that is one methodology by which I can think of, not that how far it is possible also, because the person must be able to come also. Because when overseas people are there, they are giving some pass is given for transit pass like the visa, and they are being deported to their countries. If that process is being done by those people, then probably these people can come back to India. Whether they will thrive here or not, that is a different thing. Again, they will adopt the same methodology for the purpose of in some other fashion go there and get their employment. All those things depends upon. I think that the one thing, if I say in a Vedantic way, the greed that makes the people to go out. One. Second, the government also must be able to provide employment, proper employment in our place, or opportunity to create employment. That is the one thing that is lacking. If once that is done, probably to some extent the people who are going abroad can be avoided. One. Secondly, educate most of the people. If you see the people who are going Ukraine, China, and other places, they are going for medical education or engineering. Engineering, I think nobody will be going there because you are getting a lot of schools here, colleges here. But medical they go knowing that those degrees granted are not being accepted by the universities. I do not know what purpose they are spending this money and going there and studying. And the parents are also knowing that even the educated parents are sending the children for these purposes. That is even among my own friends here, the judicial friends, judges friends, there are judges who are sending their children for this purpose. When I ask them that they are coming with a qualification which is not acceptable here, then what is the purpose? Then they say that they come and write an examination here and somehow or other it will be recognized, with the hope that it will be recognized. So I think that this is high time for the government also to find out methodologies by which whether such type of traveling facilities can be provided, even if the facilitators say that they are getting all sort of documents, etc., and sending them. Unless the persons are going for purpose which is not fruitful for their future, I think that it is high time for the government also to make some methodology by which these things will not be regularized or regulated in a proper way. By the education purposes, if they go, there must be some restriction as to whether that must be recognized in any of the state, any other countries. I don't think that the China medical, the MBBS degree is being recognized anywhere in the world. Your Russia is also not, except Russia, no other place it appears. If you go to the Ukraine, they are also the same position. So if that be the case, what is the purpose of children going there and studying and coming with a paper degree? Suppose you go for a recognized area where you got the degree, at least you will get an employment there. So when you are permitting such people to go, there must be some restriction from our side itself. Our government will have to take care of all those things. Otherwise, there is no meaning in doing all those things. Employment purpose also, they are going for some purpose. Even in cases where recruitments are made with some false hope, and they are going there with the false certificates and false these things. Because if you go for a driving license, they get a fake driving license without knowing what is driving. And they are going there. And ultimately, after going there, what the nature of work, as you have said, they are put to other troubles. And they are not given, the sponsorship will be with the person who is taking them. And they will not be paid even, if I remember correct, some of the incidences that brought to my notice were through our friends, that these people are living in a tent-like area in Arabia. When they go to the UAE and other places, labor tents. And the salary that is being given is also not fully paid to those people. Only a portion of the amount is being paid. And the passport, everything is being retained by the sponsor. So they are going there as a slave. I do not know what purpose they are going there for these things. If they can do some work here, leaving your, what you call the ego and other dignity of labor, understanding the dignity of labor, most of the people can thrive with the expenditure that they can meet here. And the government also must find out a methodology by which all these facilities, because education is one thing people thought of going outside. If more government colleges comes, providing the education as intended earlier, these problems can be solved. This is what because instead of going for a law is there. Even the immigration law can take care of all those things. Because if you want to go, you must have some methodology by which some permission will not be granted. Once that such permissions are granted, some regulations are there to supervise us also if they did not. And there is, I don't know whether there was any provision which monitors that the persons whether going there are coming back or not. If such a modality is taken by the persons who are issuing the visa, I think that to some extent that they can call back, or they can inform the embassy there or their own these people there, and they can get back them from that place, so that the other trauma that is being experienced by those people there can to some extent can be possible. These are all the ways in which the government itself will have to take an initiative. Otherwise, I don't think that, because you cannot control the people of going out. Your intention to go out, because it is for you to decide whether I will have to live or die. If that be the decision, if you are prepared to die, go and die there. Nobody can save them. So this is the area where the people must also think about before going, and also they must also have a methodology by which they can satisfy themselves they are going for a good job, or they are going for a particular purpose. They will be able to thrive there. This is the area where I think that the government also will have to think about it. And if it is illegal purposes, it is being taken also. There is also another thing is there, because these people can be likely to be misused. We do not know what is the purpose they are being used there. So really, it's an eye-opener subject, where it is high time for the Supreme Court or the Supreme Court to take a suo motu case and see that some directions are given to regularize all those things or regulate all those things. Thank you very much, Mr. Anil, for taking a subject which is not being touched by anyone so far.
Instead of Lakshmikant Pandey, it can be Mr. Anil Malhotra.
Now, sir, two points on which I wanted to give a take on your responses. First, the returns. Sir, the problem is, as I talk to senior police officers, that most of these people who are apprehended, they have either destroyed their passports or will not disclose anything about them. Now, the problem with the foreign government, as the British government comes and often confesses, is, says, where do we send them back? What state? Where? To what place? Because the man says, I am not going back. I have incurred so many loans and losses. It is loss of face. I'd rather be dead. I don't want to go back. So what do you do with such people? So that is the dilemma of the foreign government. So what do? They let them back on the streets. So they are very happy living illegally. Now the foreign government also says we can't afford. Now the prisons in foreign countries are almost equal to 4-star hotels. So they are very happy living in those prisons. That's one. Second, why do people go to Ukraine? Sir, a degree in Ukraine, a medical degree in Ukraine is recognized all over the world. That is why they go there. So our law degree may not be recognized in England. We don't recognize the Bharat law as a license to practice in India. So we are very smart. Indians are very smart. They will only do what is workable. Nobody will go and take a degree in Chinese. Let's be very clear on that. So the problem is that India should think of enacting a law seriously. I'm very surprised that the Supreme Court has never taken suo motu notice of this. It ought to, because this is a problem which concerns the entire country. Sir, the camps you are referring to are called Kali Villi. These are camps in mostly Middle East countries where Indians are held like slave labor, literally like slaves in medieval times. Passports taken away, underfed, people die sometimes, nothing is noticed. But people want to go because it gets work. Now the other issue, where is employment in India? The North Indian state of Punjab is going through a very bad phase of drug addiction. Heroin, pills, and all kind of narcotics which are smuggled through borders of Pakistan and Afghanistan has corrupted the state totally. There is no land. Land holdings are divided. There are no jobs. Industry has slumped. Politics has emerged very highly. And because of all this disillusionment, the migration urge is becoming stronger and stronger. Everybody thinks going abroad, there is a land of milk, honey, and gold. I have traveled abroad. I don't think there is a better country than India to live in. I would not give up my Indian passport, having traveled all over the world, for anything in the world. We have a very luxurious life. We live like kings. The quality of life, the happiness, the comfort levels in India are enormous. But for somebody who cannot get 2 square meals a day, he has to go. So I think Rao sir is next in line. And we pass the baton on to him.
Because smuggling is something, bachon ka khel hai Rao sahab ke liye, karna he sees almost every day some sort of smuggling in his field.
Let us hope that there is no flesh and organ trade also.
Sir, it is. There is.
Sir, you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised.
No, not that. If you go there, I think that I saw some Tamil film where a rowdy was taken here to for the purpose of meeting the rowdy there. I think that Dhanush was acting.
Yes, yes.
There, what happens is similar type of things, unrecognized, without any visa. Lot of people are there, and they are having hotels. They are running the business centers. Everything is there, and there is a person. Some person will be there for the purpose of they are fighting for the purpose of getting a citizenship there because of the long living there. I do not know whether that is possible that will be recognized or not.
No, sir, most countries have stopped asylum now. They don't encourage it. See, England at one time promoted asylum, but they are overpacked now. Their social security system has gone for a 6. A lot of Indians go there. They are on the board.
No. All those happens because of the terrorism comes and the blast, WTO blast, etc. Because they are afraid of it now.
Nobody wants.
They are not that liberal as they were earlier, sir. No. That is all. Because they are facing a lot of backlash. Germany.
Now they are afraid of any. Now they are afraid of everyone coming there.
But sir, let me share with you a part of what Mr. Singh said. We deal with the processing of documents. Checking of verification through investigators for people wanting to migrate to some European countries. Most of the European countries are going down in numbers very badly. People don't marry, people don't procreate. So you will often find a 20-year-old young boy from Punjab, totally rural and rustic, wanting to marry a 60-year-old woman in Germany. What is the link and common factor between them? Nothing. Chemistry. The woman wants a companion to look after her. The boy wants to go to Germany or Italy because he thinks he's going to get a wonderful place to live. Now, what is this? And the second thing, population is going down. There is nobody to look after the elderly. Nobody wants to marry. Nobody wants to have children. So the country is worried who is going to do the manual work, who is going to do the normal activities in the country. So they want an influx of population. Canada is huge. Australia is huge. New Zealand is huge in terms of territory. We are also huge, but we are huge in numbers.
Canada is going to be a paradise for people who are going there now, it appears.
Sir, Canada is still sir, I give you an example. We have a mall, Elante Mall, where we have these VFS offices. So these visa facilitation services offices. Now, they have one room for Europe, which means separate counters for European countries, one separate floor for UK, regulated, and one complete section for Canada. Now, all the people for Europe and England are let in the mall through an entrance whereby they are let up and go. Now, the people who want to go to Canada, outside the perimeter of the mall, there is a 1 kilometer queue because they will let them in. They will let in 15 or 20 of them only because that much can be processed there. So you wonder, what are these people doing in this queue? So I asked one day, he says, these are all immigrants to Canada. In Chandigarh, we have a consulate and they stamp the passport. Chandigarh is the only place where, Canada is the only place where Chandigarh has a consulate where they stamp passports. So the urge to go to Canada is very strong. Canada is huge. It's a huge country. Some of the areas are very cold, inhabitable, unhospitable, but Indians will go anywhere. So as they say, the famous story goes, when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon,
Yes.
so when they were pitching the flag, two Sikh gentlemen came to him and said, he said, what are you doing here? He says, we came right after partition in 1947. So that is the story. Over to Rao, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in all this, as an aviation, we have been a victim of all this. Because we've had people exchanging boarding cards at the airport, on board the aircraft, tearing their passports just before landing at their destination, either in Europe or in the US. Massive immigration people, and Saudi Arabia, though, before Ramadan, we operate special flights.
Hajj flights.
To take, no, not the Hajj flights, sir, to bring back all these overstayed and illegal immigrants.
Oh my
Who
God.
have had punishment, who are languishing in jails. Sir, those flights, you will not believe it, half the people did not have arms. Their arms were cut because the sponsor would say, he robbed money, I am throwing him out. So where is the legal system there? So we have, the airlines also has been a victim. And they all come on the temporary passports. We have to check each and every document on board. They can't fill their immigration forms. We have to do it. Same thing happening in Europe, sir. And 84 has been the boiling point at that point of time. In fact, 84, the turmoil in Punjab, we had people in Delhi airport who would wait at the end of the taxiway. And when the aircraft is waiting to take off, run and hide in the bay of the wheels. We have had dead bodies falling out of skies. We have had burnt bodies at destinations. I mean, see, sir, everybody thinks because of Dick Whittington, the tale is the roads are made of gold. So that is what everybody believes. The grass is always greener on the other side, sir. Till you go there. I mean, I have best friends of mine who've gone there. I've had rich friends of mine, and especially from Punjab, who've gone there, and I cried seeing the way they were living. I said, yaar, back home you were like a king. Why? Saying, kya karega, sir? बीवी को और बच्चे को बाहर जाना है तो हम यहाँ आ गए हैं. I said, yaar, so we have seen this firsthand, sir, and we have faced the dilemma. And sir, I can tell you, you can create n number of laws. Indians are ingenious, sir. We are ingenious in circumventing that law. And that is the major problem. And greed, one is greed, sir. The other, as you said, is unemployment. And third is, to be very honest, the last example that you said, getting married to elderly people and all, but they look at it as a gateway to get out of the rot that they're living in today. So you really can't blame them, sir. Everybody wants to, like for you and me, sir, India's paradise, because I'll be very honest, my brother lives in the US, wants to come back to India. But you will not believe it. His wife said, I married you only because you're living in the US. So if you're planning to go back to India, you're going to have a problem. And I see the life they live. So Monday to Friday, you're working, Saturday, Sunday, you're cleaning your house. Monday, you're got back to work.
No, sir, you clean your toilet every day. You wash your car every day. You do your grocery every day. You sweep the floor. You hoover the carpet. You iron clothes. I learned all this when I went there. So I realized after 2 years, I'm going back. Here you can employ 10 people to look after you. But there you have to do everything yourself. And when the gardener, and sir, when the gardener comes on hourly rate, you're supposed to shake hands with him. You're supposed to offer him a cup of tea. Or a cleaning person comes, you are supposed to say good morning to him. You're supposed to be very polite to him. And after 2 hours, he'll say, all right, please give me $30.
Yeah. You said, sir. So everybody is looking for that greener pasture, sir. Like, I mean, imagine they wanted to build a wall across Mexico. Why? The same reason. I mean, they were fed up because you push them back today, they're back again day after tomorrow. It's just one day to process their papers there and they're back, sir. So we can create as many laws. And sir, to be very honest, even our law enforcing authorities are involved in part of this. We have to blame them also, because I see it every day. I tell them, how did you clear it? Sir, oh, immigration officer को 10,000 रुपया दिया, sir, उसने stamp मार के दे दिया मेरे को. कुछ check नहीं किया. I said, ऐसे कैसे?
Sir, why go far? In Nepal, it is very common. People who want to go the wrong way, they put money in the passport. You hand over your passport, you are stamped and you are let out. That is because it's a way of life. That's how it happens.
Because till the human greed ends, no sir, n number of laws are not going to help us. As you said, we have to create jobs. Sir, the public sector started with the idea of creating jobs. Then the employees started fighting, saying they want parity with the private sector. So the public sector became equally paid as the private sector. So the social fabric of the public sector was lost. And then
no. You work for the private sector, but the same amount of work you will not do in the public sector.
Public sector. I agree.
That is also there.
I'm in total consonance with you, Justice Ramakrishna. I agree with you, sir. But then that is created because, sir, earlier the public sector never worked like this, sir. It's only when the political started deciding the head of the public sectors, it created a problem for everybody else. Otherwise, it was not. They were doing very good work. They never had problems, sir. Because I have seen the public sector from 1954, heard about it because, like I said, my father was there. And we've seen it. There was a work culture, sir. That work culture has diminished after 77. Once emergency came and people saw that they could do anything and everything with the politicians, then the downfall started, sir. I am not condoning what has happened in the public sector, sir. I am not even one bit. I'm not liked as a union leader because I tell my members also, you don't want to go to do a Jeddah flight, but you're ready to do a US flight. Again, there is a fight. I want my job, but I will not do this flight. I will not do that flight. So that is also an issue, sir. And I said, no, it doesn't work.
Trade union is also, to some extent, promoted, know about your right, forget about your duties.
True.
And they are sitting in they are trying to cut the branch in which they are sitting. That is
true. Exactly, sir. I totally agree. And Anil Malhotra, sir, thank you very much. It's really a pleasure to always hear you. I mean, these
I have one, sir, Mr. Rao, I have one question for you. I'm dealing with it currently. A gentleman from Chandigarh flew with his wife, and during the course of his journey suffered a major heart attack.
Okay.
There were about 4 hours of the journey left, and they got a doctor on board and they tried to do different things. But when they landed in New York, they whisked him off in an ambulance without his wife coming to know anything. And they rang up his son and said, you reached the hospital. By the time they reached the hospital, the man was dead.
Yes, sir.
Now, tell me, sir, very briefly, this is a story of migration, also the legal way. But what is the law on emergency landing of aircraft if there is a person who gets ill on a mid-flight?
Sir, the first standard procedures we page for a doctor, sir. In the meanwhile, we give first aid, sir. CPR and all is given to him.
Suppose all that is done and it doesn't help. What is the law on emergency landing?
So then you have to land at the nearest airport. So there is no other go for
American Airlines is refusing to give us an incident report, and a lawyer has replied to me, we will investigate and come back to you.
No, sir, it is illegal because the flight is insured for such kind of deviation.
Is there an international convention or an international law on this?
Yes, that he has to land at the closest airport. So there is. I will send it to you, sir.
Please, wonderful. That will be wonderful.
I will send it to you. That is the norm, sir. He has to land at the closest, and that is why my long-range flights from India to the US are bordering to 2 hours flight from land, sir.
Okay.
We don't want to deviate further than that.
So whatever is the copy of the legislation or the treaty or UN, whatever, just give me a copy, sir.
Yeah, I'll do that, sir. I'll send it across to you, sir. And second thing is, sometimes they don't tell the wife for the simple reason that the time is wasted on board. So they want to whisk him to the airport. So maybe that was one reason of the communication gap between the wife and the husband. That could be a possibility, sir. But we are very clear, sir, that if nothing can be done, in fact, like if you remember, you were not there on one program, sir. we were discussing about aviation law. The flight was from Jaipur to Bangalore, and the lady delivered a child on board. And everybody said, bravo, bravo, bravo. And I was the only one on that program who said, sir, it is not bravo. The child is safe, mother is safe, so everybody is hunky-dory. If that child had died,
everybody would be abusing the airline.
the other said he should have landed at the closest airport, because from Jaipur to Bangalore, he's crossed 17 airports, sir.
Oh my God.
Like Jaipur, Jodhpur, Udaipur, Ahmedabad.
But it's not
Bombay.
economical. It is not economical for the airline to land the loss.
So, but insurance takes care of that, sir. Insurance cover is always there for incidental expenses, sir.
But who decides, the aircraft pilot or the people
The
on
pilot. Ultimate authority, 36,000 feet above the ground is the commander, sir.
He is the
Ultimate
commander.
authority. And nobody can question his judgment.
board? Acha.
He says, I thought this is the best thing to do and I have done it.
Too bad.
And I am within the four walls of the law.
No, in that case, it appears that there were the doctors were there. Even the gynecologist.
Sir, even if they are, so what happens?
Maybe.
They are
as you
doctors,
said,
but they are not practicing cardiology.
He may be just an MBBS general practitioner.
No, so the thing is, we do our best to give medical facilities on board the aircraft. That is why, sir, every manifest, passenger manifest will have the prefix of a passenger, doctor. And when we get it, the first thing we do is we circle those things. So in case of an emergency, we know whom to page. We try to avoid a general announcement, because then all the passengers panic. So we kind of mark, this is a doctor. So like sometimes, like if it's a long flight, we go and meet him also and say, sir, in case of an emergency, we will call you. Sir, earlier it used to be voluntary till one doctor who treated a passenger on board sent us a bill for $14,000.
I thought only lawyers did that.
No, sir. So then we stopped. So earlier what we should, sir, we used to extend courtesies to that passenger. Rest of the journey, we'll let him sit in first class. Give him
champagne.
Yeah, a bottle of champagne, a bottle of wine. So
Or send
that was there, but then that also
your hostess again and again.
So that is how it is, sir. So thank you very much for your excellent articulation. So thank you, sir.
No, Malhotra ji, I think this is the area where we'll have to follow the system in Switzerland, Korea, and Japan. The cottage industries must be developed for all, even the what do you call the electronic goods. The components are being done from the houses. If such a methodology, because that is what Gandhi also expected when he said for dignity of labor and social this thing. But never materialized in India. That is a difficulty.
In automobile industry, that is so in Punjab.
No, Punjab, they were thriving on account of that. Everything in there except the mother and father, they will get it there. All spare parts.
True.
Now it is not happening. It appears in Punjab also. It is not happening. It appears.
Small ancillary industries were in huge numbers. Say bicycle parts, say electronic components, say electrical things. But sir, what has happened is that the influx of cheap Chinese goods has ruined the market.
Killed.
You go anywhere except human beings. China is making it. Sir, you go to buy gods and goddesses, images, or small puja items.
Figurines.
Well, you will find Hanuman, Lakshman made in China.
No, there was a wit was there. Even the sticker, your article is banned. The China article is banned in India or somewhere, is being printed from there. They don't worry about the product.
Sir, there are traders in the construction business, in the electronic business, in groceries business, food items, whatever. They go to China and they bring stuff. They will tell you where to go, how to go. They have learned Chinese. They will bring and they will sell it here. So the local industry is wiped out. Who suffers? The craftsman, the laborer, the man who is running a cottage industry, an ancillary industry, or who is running a small component industry is ruined because he can't compete with those costs. So the business is dead. Cycle parts. The cycle industry is ruined.
No,
See,
now you are
cars-
going back. No, going back to cycle now.
We are, but sir, but sir, maybe the number of models. You go to buy a Firefox cycle, it costs you anything from 25,000 to 5 lakhs. But you have parallel components now cutting in, and you get sports cycles of in a cheaper make for 5,000, 6,000. But gone are the days of Raleigh and Atlas. You know, those things are gone. Everybody wants a good looking cycle. It's more to look at or more to show off than to ride. So
Raman,
concepts
the point that Ramesh sir was trying to make is good, but there are two issues coming. I mean, before we conclude, I was just thinking, grass is always greener on the other side. Maybe because we forgot to water our own lawns. So unless and until we do that, that's only one fraction. The second Mirage, of course. The second one, of course, is lack of awareness, I believe, because the rosy picture is always painted. Those who slog those who live in subhuman conditions in the camps come back and say that it is as good as 5-star hotel. They just, say something like that, and others are lured.
Saving face, sir.
So not only saving face, they are also spoiling others, and they're taking some people along with them. That is also happening.
What is necessary is more and more of awareness among the general public about the reality, ground realities, what they are really, and if they still have that suicidal tendency to go, let them, but not without knowing what exactly to expect. Now, many are entrapped because of this, what you call the offers, etc. made, the commission, etc. goes, and end of the day, they live in subhuman conditions and they don't get what they want. They are really frustrated. They are completely cheated, but they come back, but they don't want to say that I've been cheated. So they paint a rosy picture of what they have seen and what they have experienced, and others also go into the same thing. So, sir, I mean,
as Ramkumar was telling about
Ramkumar
was telling about the human trade. See, I think that the nurses that is being taken from here. So after some time, they are subject to these things. It appears some of the issues have come. That is the reason of one case has come in Kerala. How they are being.
So I think, sir, the quintessence of the entire deliberation that we had today is that number one is that we'll have to make it more attractive for these aspirants who want to go abroad to stay back. Number one. Number two is that make them realize the awareness that it is not that as it is painted, but there is something just like the topic, the other side of midnight or the dark side of the moon also will have to be shown to them. Then I think legislation, etc. might. By legislation itself, I don't think, like Rao sir said, legislation by itself may not be the panacea for all these things.
For example, in the the human trafficking happening in the ashrams and other things, only some issues come up, cases are being registered, investigations are being done, it is brought out.
Sir, a lot of instances.
No. I'm telling about these are all the issues where unless somebody else, merely because the law is there, not going to help. The persons who are suffering on account of that must also brought to the notice of the authorities.
Maybe webinars and workshops like this will create awareness, and once at least the persons who are hearing and seeing would think about it, and more awareness would trickle down, and maybe slowly but steadily a change will come. So, sir, as we come to the end of the 270th session, it has been a momentous occasion, a momentous moment for us. We had a very distinguished personality, Sri Ramesh Inder Singh sir, who did the introductory remarks. He was conferred with the Padma Shri in 1986. And in fact, he was like Anil Malhotra sir said, during the military action in the Golden Temple, Operation Blue Star, he was a deputy commissioner of Amritsar, lot of experience, lot of exposure. He has seen, he has been to different parts of the world, and that all reflected in that introductory remarks. We are indeed indebted to him, sir. And Anil Malhotra, sir, what to say? Again, I would like to thank Justice Mustaq, sir, for introducing to this platform, you to this platform. And thank you, Ramkumar, sir, and thank you, Ramakrishnan, sir, for having made this Sunday morning so enlivened, I'd say like enlightened, that we go back empowered on a topic with regarding which we never thought of, because it was never our problem, it was someone else's problem. But at least today we know that it's a problem of the country, and nobody can keep himself or themselves insulated from these practical realities. So it is our responsibility also to spread the message or be part and parcel of this proactive thinking of fighting this menace of human smuggling and subjecting our brethren to such subhuman and other exploitative tactics. I hope to that extent this webinar would be of some use. Thank you very much, and till we meet again next week.